He's awesome.
Daughter that he made.
Wants to pick you then, huh?
Yeah, oh, we're very much.
Aw.
Yeah.
Good. Good to see you.
I know, only imagine. Good.
Like camp, you know?
Yeah, well, and we, yeah, it slowed down a little bit, but not really, like, we had gas. Like,
Oh, gee. Of course, yeah. Always something.
always
This
something.
is a great turnout, though. I'm so excited. And I hate public speaking, so my
luck.
10-page thing here will get us through it. All right, welcome everyone to our town hall, and just it's really good to see everyone's faces and being back in town hall. Like I haven't seen this many people in town hall since I started, so it's awesome to see you all here. We'll go ahead and get started, being mindful of those who are on Zoom watching us as well. I wanted to remind you all that this will be aired on Zoom and you can reference back to it. We also have some copies of the presentation over there if you would like those to follow along. So thank you for taking the time. I'm going to read from this a lot because I'm still working on my public speaking and I think we all will be. But thank you all for taking the time to engage with the town staff and trustees. For those of you who do not know me yet, I am the town administrator, Gloria Koshberger. I was hired in June last year and I've lived in Durango for 20 years. And I have a master's degree in public administration. And this is honestly my dream job to be here. So one of my administrator goals, yes, thank you, Beth, was to make the budget process more participatory and transparent. So tonight is one of the small steps towards that goal. Next slide, please. Do you want me to think? Okay. So for purposes of staying on track tonight, I'll be presenting the slide deck with lots of high-level information, and I ask that all comments and questions take place after the presentation. Because we are recording on Zoom, we will not be taking Zoom because we are recording on YouTube, we will not be taking Zoom comments, only in-person comments. If you have questions or comments and are online, please email me directly. My email should be on the bottom of that screen. The goal of this open house is to disseminate accurate information about what has been accomplished, what we are still tackling, and how we operate, and then initiate the prioritization of our capital improvements program. Local government not only provides your basic services, water, sewer, trash, but also manages passions, such as maintaining ice rinks and putting on events. So one person's passion might be another's trigger. If you're triggered by a piece of information tonight, I urge you to take off your defensive hat and put on your curiosity hat and follow up with me or staff. There are a lot of information, and trimming it down to a reasonable presentation might leave you with more questions, and we are here to help answer those questions as well. If I could have my staff stand up, please. Or Nathan, you're good. Awesome. So I just wanted to kind of identify in the room on who our staff members are, and we'll be talking about them as we go forward in this presentation. All right, next slide, please. Yep. Okay. This is our town organizational chart. We have the majority of Silvertonians up here who vote for their 7 trustees down here. And then trustees give me direction on, and then I give our staff direction. So it's kind of like a corporate structure where you have a CEO, if you can think of it like that. Our trustees are responsible for creating, interpreting, and directing policy initiatives to staff. And as the town administrator, my job is to make sure that the town implements, enforces, and supports those policy decisions. I do this by managing staff and the budget. We have 16 full-time staff and 16 full-time employees and 3 part-time employees. One of those employees, the building and code officer, is shared with the county. The town contracts with, now it got quiet and I got nervous. I'm used to yelling over chaos. The town contracts with the sheriff and the fire department, and the Carnegie Library is operated through its own board of directors and manages its own budget. The municipal judge and the town attorney are chosen by the board of trustees. While we all have our areas of expertise, the staff at town hall works as a team and often cross over to other departments. Next slide, please. All right, following the organizational chart, if you can think of those Silvertonians at the top, let's start by celebrating the citizens and all of their volunteer hours participating in our master planning process. There were over 75 opportunities to engage, and over 300 community members participated. The public hearing for the adoption of the master plan will be held next week on September 20th, that's Tuesday, at the Planning Commission meeting at 5 p.m. at the courthouse. Last year, the town gave $34,750 to 5 local organizations through nonprofit budget requests. Requests will be opening again after September 19th Finance Committee for the 2023 requests. Partnering with San Juan Development Association, the town receives $612,849 for 8 local businesses to upgrade their facades, improve energy efficiency, and install solar. San Juan Development managed this grant and facilitated the reimbursements for the businesses' upgrades. Thank you, Beth. Next slide, please. Following our organizational chart down from the citizens to the trustees, we have 2 new board members and 1 member who was retained. We consider this a new board. The new board met in May and set the presented trustee goals. Since April, the trustees have collectively spent about 40 hours in regular meeting, work sessions, and committee meetings. This averages out to about 10 hours a month. That does not include the informational meetings that happen every day. And a realistic expectation for someone wanting to be a trustee is about 15 to 25 hours a month. I was seeing if any of my trustees were going to say no. The trustees are paid a nominal fee amount for their services. Trustees receive $277 a month, and the mayor receives $450 a month because this position has additional responsibilities, including signing documents, meeting with the administrator to set agenda, and running the meetings. This chart represents the decisions that have come to the board per meeting since April and their motions to approve, deny, or recuse. The blue are unanimous decisions and the orange are unanimous with recusals. This demonstrates the uniformed approach that this board has taken to tackle challenges. All trustee meetings are noticed through our MailChimp listserv, which you can sign up and receive email notices and agenda packets at townofsilverton.colorado.gov. And you go to contact us and then subscribe to our email list. The agenda packets include detailed memos for the topics that will be discussed. If you miss an in-person trustee meeting, we have our Town of Silverton YouTube page or YouTube channel. And this hosts the recordings of regular meetings as well as serves as an archive for our other citizen engagement meetings. In May, all committee meetings were approved to be live streamed and saved on YouTube. While COVID was a challenge, the silver lining is transparency that it created in government, including the ability to remotely attend or view meetings. All right, next slide, please. So we covered citizens, we went down to trustees, and now we're down to staff. This year, the trustees supported compensation adjustments for 13 positions in the town, totaling $74,422 for our 2023 budget. These positions were identified as being underpaid in a comparative analysis with surrounding communities and were recommended to be raised to retain staff and recruit in the event those positions went vacant. The compensation adjustments will take place October 1st of this year. Average salary went from $51,574 to $56,226. For context, the area median income is $56,875, in case you're wondering. The new employee handbook was updated from the 2012 version and includes things like work from home policies, short-term disability, and PTO policies. It is no secret that the town has cycled through their share of administrators in recent years, and this creates challenges in record keeping and standard operating procedures. Staff has been focused on creating these standard operating procedures and policies to be more transparent and efficient in our future. Organizing takes time, so we appreciate the patience of the community as we'll eventually become more efficient. This graph demonstrates the total hours year to date for all employees since 2019. While we have added 2 positions, that accounts for an increase in hours. These positions did not start until late April and May. So we really have increased our hours and output. Now, next we will touch on the accomplishments and challenges in each department. It's weird not taking questions, okay. Okay, starting with events and communications. Some of the accomplishments in this sub-department is special events ordinance, which codifies the authority of the town to conduct special events. The original special events guide that was presented with this ordinance is being rewritten, and we hope to have it out for the 2023 events. This year, town facilitated 2 community events, including the Snowscapes and the 4th of July. Summer Sounds was contracted out to Creative District and the last concert will be this Friday at Memorial Park. So you should all attend. The town had 21 private events and 19 community events to date. Some accomplishments in the sub-department are not noticed by the public, but have made a huge impact on staff, including updating our phone systems, ensuring staff who need to work remotely can, and increasing cybersecurity. Staff is currently working with the Kendall Community Use Program. Staff is currently working on a Kendall Community Use Program that would reopen Kendall after COVID to community for free recreational programming. Next slide, please. All right, moving on to Public Works. Public Works is our largest department with 6 full-time staff. One of the challenges and accomplishments of this year was getting the Kendall sewer pump station fixed. And I'm happy to report it's fixed. A lot of that was waiting on parts. Demand in this department has increased dramatically over the last 4 years, going from installing 4 taps in, you're fine.
First step.
Yep, it's a doozy. Going from installing 4 taps in 2019 to 18 taps in 2023 has been a challenge for this department to manage increase in demand while keeping up with their daily tasks. To address infrastructure needs, staff applied for congressional direct spending for wastewater treatment plant collection system in April. We were denied this request. While we are working on USDA applications, we are also waiting for the federal infrastructure funds to be distributed at the state level so that we can apply again. And I think, Beth, you just emailed me on that, so I'm really excited. We are also working on a brownfield grant for water treatment funding to address our future water security. Signs were put up at the school to increase safety for the students and teachers. Signs were also installed around town informing tourists of the community vote to ban OHVs in town. Next slide, please. Columbine Park restrooms, informational center, garage, and office space is under construction and anticipated to be open July 4th, 2023, next year. We will be paying $90,000 to $96,000 a year for 10 years to pay off this lease purchase. This will be included in our 2023 budget. A lease purchase is the best option for an infrastructure project of this size because the community will be paying as they use the facility. So it's a pay as you use. Memorial Park, new playground mulch was laid down and we purchased 2 new soccer goals that have wheels. There's still a lot to do in this park and we applied for an OREC grant for revitalization of the park, including fixing up the gazebo, defining paths and accessible gravel. But we were just informed today, actually right before I got on this, that we did not receive that grant. So we will be going back out for funding. And for Kendall, we are starting a master plan for Kendall with hired consultants DHM. The trustees directed staff at the last regular meeting to work with DHM to facilitate community engagement on proposed renderings and help determine the scope and scale of the assets identified in the renderings. The date has not been set yet, so stay tuned. The Kendall deck replacement is waiting on construction renderings. And we started this project last year, but with the building craze, architects have been busy and we will finally be getting our renderings. Tomorrow is our date. Kendall ski area, the lift passed our 7-year inspection. Opening dates will be announced in tomorrow's paper. And season passes are on sale now. So come by and get your season pass. We are also working on the ice rink to ensure that when it is cold enough, we have good ice to skate on. We're doing everything in our power to make it a successful season. Moving on to the cemetery, gravesite remediation has been underway and the cemetery board has been meeting regularly. We have taken down the cemetery fence and the cemetery committee needs your help to determine if they should put up another fence. There are pros and cons to the fence and I encourage you all to vote downstairs. This voting will be open until October 26th or October 12th, sorry. Mullis Lake Campground. So last year we conducted a tree health assessment and this year we addressed the identified issues in that assessment, including downing sick trees and mulching them into place, adding more soil and improving campsites. If you have more questions about that, I'm happy to answer any of those. Mullis remains popular and full, and thanks to Jennifer and Brian, who are our contractors managing Mullis, a lot of projects that were identified in the Mullis development plan have been accomplished. And that plan is downstairs if you all want to take a look at it. We now utilize our red modular for senior services starting last year and into this year. And it is also utilized as a food bank. With our new library director, Misty Anderson, wave your hand, okay, thanks. We are resuming grant applications for the renovation of Carnegie Library. And the Visitor Center and Associated Campus is our next project to create a comprehensive plan for. Next slide, please. All right, there have been a lot of challenges in the planning department. We miss Lisa Adair, but she is still with the county and we still bug her a lot. Lucy, wait. Yep, there's Lucy right there. Okay. Our new full-time community development coordinator is still with the county, or I'm sorry, is now the face of planning and works closely with the community planning strategies to help provide expertise. Community Planning Strategies, or CPS, you'll often hear me referring to them as, is a consultant planning firm adding capacity to our planning department. Bill McDougall will be retiring as Town County Building and Code Officer, but will continue as seasonal part-time fire inspector in 2023. Bevan, can you raise your hand? I know you're here. Yes. Great. Bevan has been training with Bill since May and is ready to fill his shoes. We have a town master plan ready. I'm going to just keep plugging the master plan here to ensure that we get all the participation we can. And we have gotten so much participation, but we will be considering for adoption at the Planning Commission on Tuesday, September 20th at 5 p.m. And then for the trustees, we'll be considering it on the 26th. And then for historic preservation, Lucy is facilitating the town's application to become a certified local government. This designation would open up more funding options and create an inventory of historic buildings in town, both publicly and privately owned. Next slide, please. Let me take a drink. Am I going too fast? I need to slow down. Okay, just checking. I just don't want you to go to sleep on me. All right, so housing. Yep. I broke this section out from planning and building since it's been identified as a huge need. We received a grant to purchase the Zanoni property totaling 1.24 acres abutting Anvil Mountain subdivision. This purchase will allow us to annex Anvil Mountain into town because it creates a contiguous property line with the town of Silverton. Annexation is slated for 2023. In this grant, we also wrote in a housing coordinator position for 2 years. This person will be, well, it's Anthony Edwards. He will be assisting with the build out of Anvil as well as the environmental assessments needed on the Zanoni property. Anthony Edwards, the new housing coordinator, was not able to make it tonight, but will be in the office Friday if anyone has any questions. So he will be here on Friday all day. The new housing coordinator just submitted a grant for the build out of 6 modular townhomes to be built in 2023. An RFP for these modulars will be presented to the trustees in the upcoming meetings. I want to recognize all the work that San Juan Development did to build our capacity to move forward with affordable housing projects. Without Beth's hard work, we would not be here today. San Juan Development received $200,000 in funding assistance to build out 4 more single-family houses next year. Hopefully, there will be a total of 10 units available for purchase this time next year, is our goal. All right, next slide, please. Now let's dive into the budget. Is that the one? Yep. All right. So this is how all these projects are being funded and where our general fund revenue actually comes from. So where does our revenue come from? It comes from taxes, license and permits, intergovernmental revenue, charges for services, fines, and a little bit of other. The blue, we're going to focus on our 3 big areas. So the blue there are taxes. This includes town mill levy on property tax, highway user tax, marijuana tax, cigarette tax. There's a breakdown in our current 2022 budget, which can be found online and explains each one of these taxes. What I want to say here is our 2022 is what we budgeted for. So everything else is an actual, but 2022 in this graph is what we budgeted for. And if you guys want, you can write down questions to ask me afterwards and we can go back through these slides. So why is sales tax so important? So in 2021, 61% of our revenue was from sales tax. Our next, and that to give you perspective, like 2019, 60% of our revenue was from sales tax. So what is the next largest revenue source? So that's in yellow there. And this is charges for services. This is primarily our administration fees that the general fund charges for our enterprise funds, including water, sewer, trash, MOLIS. These fees range from $480,000 in 2018 to $645,000 in 2022. And it's based off, so the administration fees are based off a percentage of personnel and resources the enterprise fund utilizes from our general fund. Our third largest revenue source for the general fund is in gray, and that can be grants. So they represent, the gray represents grants. In 2022 is what we budgeted for grants, but we've already received about 800,000 of grants that are not reflected in this graph yet. So in the next couple of slides, we will be looking at all three of our largest sources of income in more detail. Next slide, please. So how is our sales tax looking this year? We collect sales tax 2 months in the rear. So on Friday, I received sales tax from July. We are down 6.9% from 2021, but we are up from 2019 and our projected 2022 budget. For the 2022 budget, we budgeted sales tax to be 10% less than what we received in 2019. These orange lines represent the total amount of sales tax collected that year. As you can see, 2022 is to date. The months to date are broken out in smaller colorful lines. The green line is our year-to-date actual. The year-to-date in 2019 was 542,348. And in 2022, we are at about 800,000. Yeah. Year to date, we are about $300,000 over budgeted sales tax collection, and we are surprisingly on course with what we collected in 2021. And right now we are 58% through the year, as of July. I want to recognize that while the town as a whole is doing well in sales tax collection, revenues might vary greatly from business to business. Next slide, please. So how do we compare to other communities? Well, I was able to snag the City of Ray's sales tax report for June. So this is for June. And I set the town of Silverton's graph to their scale so that the scale is a little bit more comparable for you all to see. We are pretty much on course. Next slide, please. Yes, okay. Here's a graph of the town of Silverton's total sales tax with 2022 in yellow to represent that it is year to date. What can be extrapolated from this graph is that we are now at a new level of income for the town. As of July, we have already collected more sales tax than we did the entire year of 2018 and all of the preceding years. In 2019 marks a Supreme Court case, Wayfair versus South Dakota, where towns and counties can now receive their local sales tax from online sales. It might be one of the reasons it increased, but I think there is a lot of reasons that we can go into later. Next slide, please. Grants. This is our next, this is our third biggest income, our revenue source. I did not prepare a slide on administrative costs as they are shifted between enterprise funds and the general fund. So I just wanted to show kind of what's coming in from outside. In the past year, so this is September 21st to today, the town is currently administering or has received $1,225,239 in grant funding. Grants are an effective way to leverage our public funds for projects. A challenge with obtaining grants has been the ability to provide a match and time it takes to submit and administrate grants. Right now, we are currently writing another grant for Blair Street Revitalization Project. We have written 2 grants previously for Main Streets, the CDOT Main Street grant, and we are trying a different avenue this time, and we're going for a transportation alternatives grant. All right, if you could go next slide. All right. Should I have that one? Yes. All right, so I guess I didn't write a narrative for this, but this demonstrates our cash balance or our ending fund balance each year. So through the years, we have been accumulating a ending fund balance, which means that we are not spending everything that we're bringing in. And ideally, we would like to, if we have projects to, is spend what we bring in so that you all receive your services. If you could go next slide, please. Forgot I added that one. All right, we have been utilizing the excess revenue in our general fund balance to use as matches for the before mentioned grants. This graph represents the ending fund balance. Oh, that was the one. Okay, sorry. Our cash balance has grown over the year with unbudgeted revenues, and we have received in sales tax. So ideally, we'd like our ending fund balance to be 500,000 or below. And that's what we've been doing this year with all these big projects, is we've been spending down that cash balance and making sure that you guys get services out of what you pay for. This doesn't include our reserve fund, which is $500,000. And that is in CDs right now, held to earn interest and can be pulled in case of an emergency. This graph represents the town's revenues in relationship to its expenditures in the general fund. 2022 is lighter because it is what we had budgeted for, and the preceding years are our actuals. This year's budget anticipated a $474,000 negative difference between our revenues and our expenditures to spend down some of this growing fund balance and accomplish some large projects. Next slide, please. All right. So this graph represents actuals of what was spent in 2021. The graph does not have a personnel expenditure included because it would skew the graph to be unreadable. So I put what we have spent on personnel up there, but if I were to put that on the graph, it would be unreadable. Our largest fund expenditure was law enforcement, and down to general operations, street maintenance, liabilities, library, and then Kendall and the visitor center. You guys digest that one. Next slide, please. We also have enterprise funds that manage their own budgets outside of the general fund. For the purpose of keeping us in less than 3-hour presentation, I am not going to cover the enterprise funds at this time, but those will be covered in our budgeting process coming up. So with the trustees, we do several work sessions and presentations of the budget, and we'll be talking about those at that time. Next slide. Okay. So I've heard this a lot. We have all these plans just sitting on the shelf. So this has been repeated over and over in my short time as an administrator, and the trustees have prioritized executing existing plans. So in creating the capital improvements program, staff cross-referenced the plans, the adopted plans with the draft master plan and came up with these 5 projects. Now we need your help. We need your help in prioritizing these projects. I will do a brief overview of each project and explain the process to prioritize and next steps. And then we have like a couple more slides and then I'll be done with the presentation. And then you can ask me all your questions because I feel them building. All right, next slide, please. Yeah, okay, so the first project that we have here is the pedestrian and vehicular signage. An update we have put out, so this is in our wayfinding master plan, and we have put out a request for information to local artists for the design and build of an entrance monument. In the August 22nd meeting, regular meeting, trustees decided to put option 1 from the wayfinding master plan's conceptual design into the RFI to request for information to determine the cost of the entrance monument. Next step would be implementing the pedestrian and vehicular signage if that is what the community prioritizes. Next slide. Another project that we found in all of our plans that were cross-referenced was the Mullis Lake Lodge. We have done a lot of improvements up at Mullis over the years and are making headway on the development plan, but this is one that would be kind of the next step. As described in the Mullis Plan of Development, the Mullis Lodge will be constructed in the current location occupied by the store office. replace those existing buildings with a historic looking lodge that would not detract from the scenic beauty. And more information on all of these are downstairs on the boards, as well as there are the plans there as well, so you can look through them. All right, next slide, please. The Silverton Perimeter Trail was identified in our trails plan and described in the trails plan as the core of this trails plan, looping around the town of Silverton and serving as a hub that accesses a number of trails, arteries that go out and into the county. While we do not have funding estimates for these trails, the prioritization will prompt us to pursue these projects. Next slide, please. Where are we on? Are we on the urban? Yeah. Okay. So we are in Urban Trail Network is another one that was defined, identified in our urban trails plan and in our trails plan. Green Street would be the backbone of this urban trail system and along its entire length. And then emphasis would be on extending it down to 14th Street to Kendall. Next slide, please. The Riverwalk was also identified in both the trails plan and the Animas River Corridor plan. And there are detailed information on the slides downstairs. Next. All right. All right, so next slide again. Excellent. So what are our next steps from here? More information about each of these projects are on the poster boards downstairs. You can get your town bucks and voting chips from Melina or the town clerk. And we do this to ensure that you are a resident and ensure that you are not voting multiple times. The rest is on the honor system. This is not a formal vote. This is feedback for our trustees to make better decisions. So you may vote on what you would like the town to continue. Oh, you can also vote on if you would like the town to continue the 4th of July, funding the 4th of July with the increased budget, and if you would like to see the cemetery fence erected again after the old one is taken down. The CIP projects and cemetery fence will be displayed for voting in the atrium until October 12th. So during business hours, citizens can come in and vote for their projects and learn more. And then the fireworks vote will only be open until 4 p.m. on September 26th. And that is when our trustees are slated to have it on their agenda and need the information. All right, one more slide. We're almost there, guys. Okay, the town's budget is the largest policy document. Oh, this isn't it. Okay. So, yeah, no, it is. Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm just kidding. You guys are like, no. Okay. The town's budget is the largest policy document that the trustees pass each year. And you guys probably aren't all budget nerds like me, but I want to make you budget nerds. So ask me questions. I would like to add one more date to this slide. The trustees will be having a work session on the budget on October 3rd at 5 p.m. And then pending the approval of the Finance Committee, nonprofit budget requests will be open on August 23rd. Okay, nope, September 23rd, thank you. Good call. And one more slide, and this is just a thank you slide. So we have finally reached the end of our presentation. And I wanted to say it is an honor to work here over the last year. And I will continue as long as I can. There have been challenges and will continue to be challenges, but from the pressure comes diamonds, and Silverton's making diamonds. So good job, everyone. Now I invite you guys all to socialize, ask staff questions, go downstairs, vote, and yeah, it's really good to see a full house. Thanks for coming.